I'm back. Rudrance for our Black and White Network. Oh, Patrisse Cullors seems to be begging for your sympathy. She's saying all the misfortunes of Black Lives Matter. You know, the Marxist organization. You know, the Marxist organization where she's literally on camera going, I'm a trained Marxist. You know, the very organization in which she was a co-founder of. She says, nothing to see here. Please move along. Don't blame me. She's sad because she feels like she's the BLM's fall guy. Now, look, Matrix and myself have been very critical of Black Lives Matter, the organization. And we said we felt like it was a scheme. Nobody really knew where the money was going to, even though there were things that we had seen ourselves, me, him, where it looked like the money, a lot of it was funneling in, at least a portion, into the Democratic various dealings, campaigns, including Pelosi, including Biden. Okay. But nobody really knew exactly what was going on with the money. You've got black people pounding the table that BLM money never came back into their communities. And you got Patrisse Cullors, who went on a $1 million buying spree. And yeah, she's now taking heat amongst their financial scandals. Let's get to this. BLM co-founder who went on a mansion buying spree complains she's a fall guy over the financial scandals. Oh, this is the woman that feels like you should not have a man in the family. There shouldn't be a head of the household. The nuclear family, if you believe in traditional families, husband, wife, children, you can go to hell because she doesn't see the value in it. I can't think of anything more un-American, in my opinion. Speaking to The Guardian, Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors, who went on a mansion buying spree, claimed that she was, quote, the fall guy for the organization. Quote, a movement, she said, that was much bigger than her. By the way, I've heard a lot of the chapters did not see a lot of the money they were supposed to be getting too. You know, like there's chapters in Louisville and there's BLM everywhere. There's even a BLM Tyler, Texas. Rural East Texas, there's a BLM. Yeah. It was in May 2021 that Cullors stepped down as the BLM's executive director. What do you think? That's why you're taking heat? Maybe. The general public hadn't heard much from her since then, especially after it was revealed she spent $6.3 million for a Toronto mansion that formerly belonged to the Communist Party. Did anybody hear that? As far as explanations go, readers are led to believe that Cullors had enough personal success separate from the BLM as an organization for personal lavishness. Quote, you're catching me at a place of deep, deep self-reflection. You might want to go to Belize. I'm just saying. She said, but I look forward to many more years ahead where I can look back with more fondness. I think right now I have a lot of hurt and resentment, and I feel like I've been treated as the fall guy for a movement that is much bigger than me. No, you're just personally responsible for actual cities burning to the ground. And some will say, well, you let yourself be time. You let yourself be time 100. You let yourself be in the forefront and you're about to be on the cover of The Guardian. Kinda comes with the territory, she says true. Much of the recent controversy surrounding the BLM is by the group's lack of proper IRS filings for her swath of donations. Oh, my bad, their swath of donations. Earlier this month, the controversy surrounding the BLM's improper reporting led the group to be dropped as an official charity. California Attorney General went as far as swearing financial liability would be pursued. It was only as of Thursday that the state began to allow BLM to fundraise again after an accounting gimmick was cleared up. The same goes for Connecticut, Colorado, New Mexico, and Maine, where the group faced similar problems. The pivot is being dedicated to Hillary Clinton's campaign lawyer, Mark Elias, who was brought on board earlier on February. By the way, he's sort of known as a Democratic fixer, if you know what I mean. What it boils down to is Cullors claiming to be her lack of management skills. She had a breakdown about a January 2022 article that criticized her credibility. Quote, "I think it's because black people in general have a hard time with money. It's a trigger point for us," Cullors told The Guardian. In her case, she says a lot that has to do with being socialized as a woman and just wanting to do work and not bragging about what we've done and what we've accomplished. It has nothing to do with you being black. Everybody just thinks your ass is shady if you want to know the absolute peel back the curtain truth. Despite the claims made against Cullors' management style, she publicly swears by the claim that millions of dollars were put, quote, back into the community. For a piece that claims to be on Cullors responding to public backlash, the first half of the Guardian article is dedicated to biological background. Cullors grew up in a household where her own father, biologically, was different from the figure that raised her. He was a man who was also a recovering alcoholic, and it's these teachings of empathy that Cullors explain were the building blocks of her youth. You had building blocks? It helped her to have an explanation as to why she seemed so outspoken compared to her siblings. When Cullors came out as a lesbian at 16, it served as her pivot point into adulthood. The Guardian describes, at this point, while her mother still kept tabs on her, Cullors grew increasingly aware of the police ecosystem of the United States. By the way, in a 2015 speech, the self-avowed Marxist was recorded calling police a terrorist organization that she, quote, always wanted to fight. Pot calling the kettle black, I reckon. Her brother's 1999 arrest served as a radicalizing point in her mindset as an activist. But in addition to that, Cullors, she said, was labeled gifted and grew up surrounded in an education system full of white privilege. For Christ's sakes. Cullors said during her interview, now look, she's saying black people are being oppressed as she buys multiple $1 million homes, including a $6.3 million one in Toronto. I'm just putting that out there while we're going through this. Keep that in the back of your mind. Cullors said during her interview, "It is unacceptable that I come home to police sirens, helicopter policing, and that I go to school where all these white kids are doing every drug under the sun and nothing is happening to them. Why not them when they're actually the ones dealing? I'm talking about massive amounts of drugs that I would not have had access to if it wasn't for white communities. That wasn't right. So you're mad that the black communities didn't have access to these drugs? I'm confused." Despite these early indications for successful activism, the Guardian interview takes a turn in the second half. Cullors wants the world to know she was unprepared for the mainstream media success that the BLM movement ended up having globally. The Guardian piece says it was in 2013 that Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi laid the groundwork for the Black Lives Matter hashtag following George Zimmerman being cleared over the death of Trayvon Martin. Their motivation taking charge, the trio was supposedly worried about the message being hijacked. My God. Let's skip down a bit. That ultimately led to the summer of 2020 George Floyd riots. It led to the BLM to get over $90 million in donations that year. That's in contrast to a reported $1 billion plus in riot damage reported as a result of protest turned into riots. Yeah, so, my God, that is crazy. So, Patrisse Cullors is still playing the victim role. I mean, really? I mean, you grifted your way into millions upon millions of dollars, it looks like. And I mean, look, at this point, perception is what it is. Okay? And you're asking for sympathy on your Ponzi scheme? For real? Nah. I've sat back and watched you destroy cities. I watched your organization, have a hand as part of BLM protest in killing David Dorn. Now, you're not getting any sympathy from me whatsoever. It seems that people sent money into the organization, and nobody knows exactly what happened to some of it. It is what it is. You were one of the ringleaders in this very organization. At least I'm not going to have any sympathy or feel bad for you when the wolves start circling. They should. Tell me what you think, Black and White Network fans. Patrisse Cullors, a trained Marxist, a hater of America, wants you to feel sorry for her. Do you? I don't. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.